There was a story I was told once, I remember, by a professor in graduate school who was teaching a political science class. And he talked about how there was once a man who was a ruler of a nation or of a city-state or something. And an apprentice came to him to ask for his wisdom about how to rule properly, how to rule effectively. So he asked this man, this ruler, how does he go about ruling effectively? And the two of them are walking through the woods, and at that point, the ruler takes from the other man a cutlass that he's holding in his hand. He takes the cutlass, and there's a big thicket of weeds in front of them. He hacks away at these tall weeds that are in front of them on the path until the tall weeds are all cut down to size, and then he hands the cutlass back to the man who asked the ruler for his wisdom on how to rule effectively. Now, without a word, what the ruler communicated in this action was that if you want to rule effectively, you have to deal with the tall weeds, proverbially speaking, those who, within your purview, within your city-state, within your kingdom, who might pose a threat. They need to be gotten rid of. And then the smaller weeds, the tiny weeds, you don't really have to worry so much about them. Maybe they'll grab at your ankles every now and then. Maybe they'll be a little annoying, and you'll have to do something to just let them know who's boss. But it's the tall weeds that you got to take care of. This all comes to mind for me. It came to mind for me when I heard that David Icke has now been banned from YouTube. His YouTube channel is no longer here on YouTube. And it's not terribly surprising. Of course, what I think is the case about free speech, even though I don't know if these tech people still claim to be believers in freedom of speech, it wouldn't surprise me if they, because they're such despicable, intellectually dishonest people, if they still do claim to be advocates or upholders of freedom of speech, even while deplatforming people left and right, mostly right. But anyway, it does strike me that with a principle like freedom of speech, unfortunately, most of the time the people who advocate for it strategically rather than as a principle. They pretend to advocate for it as a principle. They say, look, we believe we should have freedom of speech. It's a fundamental right. It's a God-given right. They say that, but the reason often why they have said that in the past is because the standards of the day wouldn't allow for the advocacy of the kind of things that they believe in, and so they would benefit from freedom of speech. Now, what we've seen with these liberal lefties, after they gained freedom of speech, and after they took over and became their ideas became the ruling ideas, now they suddenly don't believe in freedom of speech anymore. Now freedom of speech is, it's sort of like, well, yeah, freedom of speech is all well and good up to a point, but, not when it comes to hate, not when it comes to Nazis, not when it comes to, whatever, and shouting fire in a crowded theater and all these stupid, ridiculous exclusions that they come up with, which are really just pretexts, which are really just excuses for them to be inconsistent while claiming not to be inconsistent, while claiming that they do believe in freedom of speech, but I do not think that means what you think it means, or something along those lines. So that said, it doesn't surprise me that even though David Icke is not not what you would call a right-wing person, he's not even a racialist. He doesn't talk about race. He doesn't talk about protecting the white race or advocating for whiteness or anything like that. Any of what are supposed to be the toxic radioactive ideas, we're told. Not the case with David Icke. Nevertheless, they gave him the boot. Now, David Icke had to be taken care of because he was one of the tall weeds. He had grown very powerful. He was getting a lot of views. The thing is, he still is powerful. I wouldn't worry about him as far as being able to take care of himself. He's a brand. He's a legend. He's somebody who has gained the respect of many who used to think he was a crazy person, including me. He's been so right about so many things. He's been such a prophet, seeing ahead that these things were happening, that specifically these high-level people were practicing these terrible rituals involving children, that pedophilia was endemic to the ruling class, and so forth. And all of that turned out to be right, and he was talking about it way, way long ago, before anybody else was. So I like Icke, and all hail David Icke. Now, again, David Icke is going to be okay. I'm not worried about him per se. I do think it was a travesty what big tech has done with him, but it's been precedented. I mean, we've seen him deplatformed before. I think they didn't allow him to go to Australia for his planned world tour like a year and a half ago. They excluded him from. They said no, David Icke, you cannot enter our country because you are a dangerous man. So anyway, David Icke is going to be okay, just like InfoWars is going to be okay. These kinds of people, they're institutions already. But what this should make us fear, and what it does properly cause us not to fear, but just to be cognizant of, are us little weeds, the ones who aren't that well known, the ones who aren't that popular, the ones who don't get tons and tons and tons of views. But we still see that if we get a little too unwieldy, if we get a little too big for our britches, then they could just cut us down in a heartbeat. So with that in mind, I've got to say for this channel, I'm aware that I don't get a huge number of views. I don't have a huge number of subscribers. I mean, more than some, don't get me wrong, but far less than many, many others. So in a way, that's a good place to be, because you can, again, you can get further if you don't grow too tall. You can have more to say. You can be more influential in your own way. If you don't become this very conspicuous institution, where your name is your brand and so forth. On the other hand, if you become somebody like that, then you also become much more self-sufficient, and people already know who you are, and they're already they already know you as a brand, and they already know your work, and so forth. All this is to say, though, while I wouldn't think that something like what happened to David Icke would happen to me here, because I'm just not that big. I'm not that popular. I don't have that many views or subscribers or so forth. But I am nevertheless going to go back to doing what I had been doing a while ago, and that's I'm going to start posting at BitChute as well. And I will leave the link to my BitChute page, which I do have. It's been a while, and it's the process of uploading something on BitChute is a lot more, onerous. It's as a system, it's just not as streamlined as YouTube, unfortunately. But they do believe in freedom of speech, which is a hell of a lot more than you can say for YouTube and for most of these social media platforms these days. So to avoid getting iked, I'm going to continue to post here at YouTube, but I will also post at BitChute, and please do come over to BitChute and follow me there and start watching my videos there. And if someday you wake up in the morning and you go to see my latest video and you see there is no Andy Nowicki on YouTube anymore, well, then go find me on BitChute. Hopefully it won't come to that, but who knows? If this weed gets tall enough, who knows? Anyway, just a few thoughts. Hope we continue to be here on this platform, even with all of its problems, even with the fact that those who run it suck and so forth, and are awful people who are in bed with the worst kind of people. Nevertheless, here is where you get the greatest reach, and you get to the most potential of finding viewers. But anyway, if not here, then BitChute. We'll just see where things go. Talk to y'all soon. Andy Nowicki, altrightnovelist.com. Andy Nowicki, lowstatusnovelist.blogspot.com.